Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here, just as we started pushing up right there. And when it starts pushing up, that's when we know these are our overnight lows. That's when it becomes more clear. Now when you push up here, what you'd want to see is a failed second entry, because when you're forming the overnight low, that's a perfect place for a reversal pattern, and a reversal pattern is a failed second entry. And so ideally what you'd see is you push up, you get a good push above the EMA, and then 2 attempts to reverse back down, because that would give you a failed second entry. Notice how to the tick you can see that there's first entry, you can see first entry short, second entry short, failure. This is all just within this downtrend right here. You don't want to enter long into that. But then on a bigger picture, you can see first entry short, second entry short, failure. But once again, this first entry is within this downtrend. This is the real breakout right here. I would just want to see a push out, 2 attempts to reverse, because that would give you a failed second entry. And then you also have to consider this downtrend here. In this downtrend, when you get a break, you can expect price to make 2 attempts at a new low. And so if you can get 2 attempts at a new low after shooting above the EMA, you would get that reversal pattern, failed second entry, and this downtrend would have its 2 attempts at a new low. So then it would just be confluent with this downtrend. But unfortunately, we don't get that. We just get this higher low right here, which it's not good enough, because once again, this downtrend could have another attempt at a new low, and you could very easily get stopped out going long there. But we do end up going higher here. We get this correction down here. We don't reach the EMA. It's a couple more corrections. It starts going a bit sideways, but we're not reaching the EMA, which is the main point. We continue higher here. We get this correction. It's a sharp first entry long, except it's just one leg back. It's just a first entry. I'd want to see 2 attempts back right here. This is not enough to enter along, unfortunately. And so we push up here. We start going sideways, and then once it's been going sideways a long time, we reach the EMA, but you can't enter that because it's been clearly chopping sideways at that point. And so we continue sideways. We get another entry down here. There's unfortunately no room. Look how big your stop would have to be compared to how much room you have in this range right here. There's just no way that you can safely enter on that, unfortunately. And so I don't like that there. At first, of course, this trend was more like this. We have this uptrend, break, new high, it goes very sideways, and then we end up getting a couple legs up right there. It's a bit hard to see because of this chop, but you can see right there. There's a leg up, and then another leg up, and then it gets choppy right at that measured move. So anyway, we push up. We make that new high, we get choppy, we make that second leg up, we go into another little range, and that's when we start looking at this wider uptrend. And so at first I was trying to draw something like that, but eventually I did form this. So anyways, we push lower here. Now notice this larger uptrend. I'm going to move this for a second just to unclutter it. I drew this off those first 2 swings from that low, right off that body, and then it bounced off that. It fit well off those highs. And then clearly you can tell that on a big picture, that is 1 leg higher, and then we get a break, and then notice those 2 attempts at a new high. And so at this point here, when we break, I know that price will likely make a new high, and price will definitely attempt at a new high at least. And so if we could have gotten some kind of good failed second entry above the EMA here, we could have gone long. But we end up just pushing up higher here with no real entry. Certainly don't want to enter long there. There's no reason to enter long at this point. It's just in STT, not off of any support. And then we push up. We get choppy as we make a new high. It makes a new high / double top, because we can tell it makes a new high, but you can also tell that's a double top right there. And so it gets very choppy at that point. And then we push lower here. Now we can expect a second leg, and someone asked me in the site why I didn't take this right here, this higher low. Notice how we're still expecting a second leg, but like I said, this is a double top right here, and when we form this double top and made a new high, there's a chance that it could just reverse on down from that, because even though you can expect 2 attempts at a new high, it'll often reverse from 1 attempt. And so even though we have 1 attempt and it successfully made a new high, you can still expect a possible second attempt, but that doesn't mean the second attempt is very likely, considering this double top and then a strong push below the EMA, and then by the time you get this entry here, it's struggling to get above the EMA. So say this uptrend had a break, first attempt at a new high, and then we got a clear setup above the EMA, and it just looks really good, and it's the entry for the second attempt higher, then we can take something like that. But even though we can expect a second attempt higher, we can't be so sure it's going to work in this situation, because once again, the double top led to the double top slash new high, because it did already make a new high, which makes it even less likely as we push below the EMA and then just struggle to get above before the entry. So I understand why someone would look to go long here to get in on that second attempt higher, but there's just a few things about it that make it less likely, is the point. And so what ends up happening here is we attempt to push higher here, we find resistance around this area that's forming resistance, then we have a second attempt, same thing happens. And that's where I liked this entry here. Now there was this uptrend forming, so I want to quickly draw this back really quick. And so anyway, notice this. Uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. Now let's look at something on a smaller picture here. So we know that this is the first attempt higher, and as we break, we know that we can get a second attempt higher. Now, when it does that this first leg up right here, this is the first attempt to reach that measured move. Because just like on the big picture, the uptrend having a break, 2 legs at a new high, on the small picture, these bigger picture legs can be made up of smaller legs. And so we get this first attempt to reach the measured move. So first attempt to reach the measured move, second attempt failure. So you have confluence on the big picture and the small picture. So once again, the uptrend has a break, 2 attempts at a new high, and you can expect a failure because it's clearly forming resistance. It's closing back below the EMA. And then on the smaller picture here, you have this measured move in play, and then you have those 2 attempts to reach the measured move, and you're failing to reach that measured move. And also, when I said 2 attempts to reach a new high failure, what I meant, because I know that we already made a new high, what I meant is 2 attempts to make a new high, and then since you have 2 attempts, you can expect a reversal, especially considering this resistance. So anyway, we push down here. I had to use a limit order on this because I did not want to enter into this trend line right here. So I just had to use a limit order, but you know, it's not a big deal. You know, it's a small trade, only one for today, but you know, it was a slow day today, so this is really all I could get. But anyway, we push on lower here. We start going into this range sideways right here. Unfortunately, there's no longs, no shorts. When you're coming off the lows of a range, you can expect to find longs, but this downtrend was in play at first. We had this break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, and then we have this huge green bar. And so I could see how someone would get tricked into taking this because they're saying we're off this support, the downtrend has a break, 2 attempts at a new low. Let me just draw this trend line for a better visual. Notice downtrend, break, 2 attempts at a new low, big green bar. But we've been rejecting the EMA the whole way down. It's been going completely sideways. There's no way that you can safely enter that. I mean, you've got this going for you right there. So it's into the EMA and this range high right here. So you want to avoid entering on that. Then anyway, excuse me. Then anyway, so we push up a little bit, it fails, we push out of this range, and then we start to fade right here. Now what we could get is a fade back higher, and then 2 attempts and then a 2-legged retest of these lows. Because if you got that, then that would be a failed second entry, which would also go perfectly with this downtrend break, because then you'd have this downtrend break and then 2 attempts at a new low before entering long. So you can get confluence with this downtrend here for a better entry. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope it helped out in some way, and hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all next time.